Hello, and in my series, I'm talking about are you a rebel or a remnant to King James Bible believers, people who hold the King James Bible as being their final authority in all matters of faith, practice, and doctrine. And I'm going to talk today about we're going to questions on was there a King James only movement before Ruckman's book, The Bible Babel? The head of the ASV Translating Committee, American Standard Version, and noted Christian historian acknowledged the assumption made by many that the King James Bible or authorized version was virtually the inspired word of God. However, this assumption by some Christians of the authority of the King James Bible was based on it being the translation most readily available to them and not on any understanding of the differences in opinion on the translation of Greek words or manuscript evidence. Still, the King James only proponents use any statement about the authority of the English Bible in historical context in the same way they quote scholars and laymen who upheld the King James Bible as the most reliable translation of the traditional position. For example, KJV only believer Joey Faust, in his book entitled the Word, God Will Keep It, the 400-year history of the King only movement, refers to an apocryphal conversation that 17th century Protestant noteworthy John Bunyan allegedly had with a scholar who insisted that a knowledge of the original languages was essential to understanding the Bible. Bunyan expressed his belief that he had access to the originals through the Bible he used. Quote, then, said Mr. Bunyan, so do I believe our English Bible is a true copy of the original. And that's in Joey Faust. That's in the book. It's page, uh, let's see, I think it's chapter 6 in the Kindle version. A second example used by Faust was that of the church to which 19th century scientist Michael Faraday belonged. The church was founded by 18th century theologian Robert Sandeman, the son in law of controversial Scottish nonconformist preacher John Glass. Faust uses quotations by Glass from his own works, implying that the Scot was an ardent King James only pastor, and that therefore the church founded by Robert Sandeman was an example of an early King James only church. What Glass expressed in his own work in an argument about the value of the original languages was the belief in the predominant English Bible of his time, the King James Bible, as an authority in direct contraposition to the Roman Catholic Church, giving it equal standing and importance to Protestant people as the Church of Rome was to Catholic. Quote, are you indeed for the people believing in your church instead of their English Bible? He wrote. The English Bible's presumed superiority to the originals lay in its accessibility to the common man and not to any argument of superior translating methods or abilities or even arguments of manuscript credibility. While the expression of the superiority of the King James Bible to the original autographs, manuscripts, or even languages was based on the fact that the KJV, unlike the latter, was available to the common man, this in no way implies the same type of perfection the King James only proponents claim for it. The basis for the belief in the authority of the King James Bible before the KJV only movement was expressed very clearly by George Holden in his 1822 work, An Attempt to Illustrate the Book of Ecclesiastes, where he advised against any revision to the authorized version due to the position it held. And I'm quoting from his book. While rival scholars would support their several systems, stubbornness of preconceived opinion, the belief of sacredness of as character by being the standard of the knowledge of faith handed down for 2 centuries from father to son as the word of God. Its very errors are, in a manner, consecrated by the reverential respect of the people, and it is not likely that any superior accuracy would, in the present state of public. We're going to stop with that quote. And we're going to go on to some things that Ruckman said about people he believed were King James only proponents in the past, and we're going to discuss were they really, so we can get to the bottom of this, and then get to my argument about why I believe the King James Bible is the Bible you should be using, or I should be using for sure. All right, thank you very much for that. Have a good day.